talk to me about your experience with ladders.
Climbing the corporate ladder. Things I've never done. Ladders in general, ladders in parks. I've painted my entire house and I had to be on a ladder before for the entirety of it. Like, I mean, the outside.
You painted the outside of your house?
Yeah, by myself in a weekend.
Did you really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, this house used to be yellow. It is gray now.
I did know that,
Yeah.
but I didn't know that
How'd
you did
think
it yourself.
happened? Did I just
don't
wiggle
know.
my nose like Samantha?
You have a lot of people in your network who are very
True.
handy, so I wasn't sure if it was like
No, I did it by myself. My dad is like, refuses to, he's like, the one thing I won't do is paint. I'm like, all right, whatever.
Listen,
So-
I gotta.
Oh, I really enjoy painting. It's soothing to me.
Yeah,
I mean, my body was very sore and tired after that weekend.
I'm sure.
It definitely took its toll on me, but I did it and it looks good. But yeah, so that's my, my formative experience with ladders, doing work on them.
I have a funny story about ladders involving our good friend Nadine.
Oh, okay.
So Nadine was a professor of mine in college.
Okay.
I was not present for this moment, but apparently, so Nadine she coined the phrase paint faster.
The first to ever say it, folks.
But she hated when scenic painters would just like take forever. She's like, move the paint around. You have to just paint faster. That was her whole thing. So she was on top of a ladder. She fell off the ladder, probably about like 12 feet in the air to the ground. On the way down, screamed, "Keep working."
Now, if that isn't Capricorn
Spoken
energy,
like a
I don't know
true
what is.
Capricorn.
Looking for adventure, I want to follow on the trail, or get a little lost and let the wind fill my sails. Get up when the stars still fill the sky, don't wake the sun. There's so much to be done, and the day has just begun. Go where the postcards are real, you can feel, you can open your eyes and open your heart when you gaze at the national park. At the national park. At the national park. Follow you, I'll follow you there.
For the record, Nadine was totally fine and was not injured from that. Hello and welcome to Gaze at the National Parks, the podcast. I'm Dusty.
And I'm Mike. And on today's episode, we are talking about our final leg of our second trip to Acadia National Park.
That's right. So on the second trip to Acadia National Park, we got to do the Scudic Peninsula. We also got to do a whole bunch of trails on the east side that we'd never gotten to do before.
That's right.
We also got to venture over to the west side. In our previous episode, we climbed
Bernard Mountain.
over on the west side of the west side. And so
West Squared.
Great. And so this episode is all about climbing Beech Mountain on the eastern part of the west side of Acadia National Park.
This is hilarious. My Jeopardy does relate to this episode.
Oh, great.
And to the cold open, oddly enough. Hilarious. After we get off of the Bernard Mountain Trail, we head back to the parking lot. Now, we were parked basically kind of at the bottom of Long Pond, and so this was sort of smack dab at the nexus of both trails that we wanted to do. It was like the perfect meeting point.
Yeah,
it's
Long
like the
Pond
trails kissed.
It's in the middle of these two different peaks, and that's where the parking lot is. We also saw this really hot dude swimming right here.
Wasn't supposed to be, but
Wasn't
we weren't
supposed to
complaining
be
about it.
because there was a sign that said no swimming.
Keep swimming.
We were up the hill a little bit, parked from where like
Right.
the actual swimming was.
Right.
From where the beach meets the water, I should say. The beach, it's not really much right
the
there.
shoreline.
The shoreline. But there are some stairs. So those stairs just climb up and up and up and keep going. And so we climbed those stairs to get to where we were parked, because we could go on the road and walk up, but we were right there. So we took the stairs.
Right. Yeah. So we came off the trail, walked along the beach, and then jetted on up, which is basically what we would end up going back to eventually anyway.
Right. That would be our ending point again. Right. So we get to the car, we have some snacks, we get packed, and then we decide where we're going to go next, which on the other side was Beech Mountain.
Right.
And Beech Mountain is spelled with 2 E's.
Like the tree.
There were a number of ways to get to Beech Mountain, but we wanted to really make the most of our time. So we said, okay, what is the way that we're going to go here? And so we decided a route. Then we got our bags on our back and we set off. We first get on the Valley Trail. In order to get on the Valley Trail, we have to go back to those stairs that we were just taking and turn right and go up the stairs the rest of the way, because that intersects right with the Valley Trail.
Right there. I think there was some confusion at first on like, oh, are we just heading up the stairs completely? Or there was a little bit of like, based off of the map, how the map was laid out, it was kind of like, oh, this sort of makes sense. But you're right. We had to kind of take those stairs up, and then we hit our juncture there.
That's right.
And the stairs, this was like a beautiful like little staircase in the woods. Like, that was just like man-made, like long log to kind of like separate the rise and run of each of the steps, and some gravel.
We do eventually intersect with the Valley Trail on those stairs, and we have to turn left to continue on the Valley Trail.
And there are more people about at this point too. So not that it's thronged over there by any means, but you know, we saw the dude swimming in the water,
and that was thonged.
That was thonged, exactly.
Not true, but I'm kidding.
No, there were a couple of people that were right in the vicinity there. There were a lot more cars parked right where we were.
Because now it was the middle of the day. We had gotten there at like 7 a.m.
Right.
We continue walking on the Valley Trail, which for a long time was just flat. It was a flat, beautiful walk through the woods. There was a family that was walking ahead of us. There were like 5 kids with that family.
Yeah, it was a lot of kids.
A big family.
They were the most polite people.
Oh, the sweetest
I have ever met.
Absolutely.
All the kids were like, have a great day. Like,
how are you? How's your, hello,
like,
nice to see you.
Like,
I mean, all of them.
Thank you
so
for
sweet.
teaching manners, people.
Exactly. Because we ended up passing them as we went a little further down this Valley Trail, because the Valley Trail starts turning into some switchbacks.
And this is where things get spicy.
Where the beginning of where things get spicy. Now, these switchbacks here at the beginning of the Valley Trail were slightly steep, but they weren't too bad. And compared to the other things that we dealt with on this trail, they were honestly the easiest part.
You do get a lot of gain though. I will say that. Like, I feel like that happened real quick. Like it was, they weren't fooling around. Like, these switchbacks were there to get you up very quickly.
Very quickly. As we are walking these switchbacks, we come to another juncture. We could continue going straight and continue on the Valley Trail, or we could turn left and go up the South Ridge Trail. A lot of people who want to hike to the peak of Beech Mountain will start at the parking lot where we were, do exactly what we did, get on the South Ridge Trail, and go right up to the peak. That is like kind of the most direct way.
Yeah.
There's one other kind of direct way there, and that is the Westridge Trail, but stay tuned. We'll talk about that at the end. We decided that we weren't going to take the South Ridge Trail. We were going to continue on the Valley Trail. And the family did take the South Ridge Trail.
Right, they did. So we continue on that Valley Trail, which is, again, just another sort of flat walk along the right east side of Beech Mountain. We're going to basically come to the peak from the northern side of this trail, and that's going to sort of take us around it.
We decided not to ascend to the top of Beech Mountain from the southern end, that we wanted to go the long way around and do it from the northern end.
Because we wanted to just have more time to hike.
Right, exactly.
Right, exactly.
When we continued on the Valley Trail, we were going to go another 0.6 before we hit another juncture. Now, this 0.6 miles along the side of Beech Mountain on the Valley Trail is beautiful, flat, picturesque forest. It's like gigantic trees on your right, huge, giant trees with moss, huge boulders.
Giant boulders.
You kind of had to navigate boulders sometimes.
Yes.
It felt a little bit reminiscent of like Scudic Fairy Forest, but in like a I'm really small kind of way.
Yeah, this was definitely like we were in Little Big World and Scudic Forest, and now we were in like Big Little World.
Right.
We were the littles now.
We were the littles now.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
But it was beautiful and totally worth finding our way up there to do it.
And it's also canopy. Like, it's just heavy canopy at this point. It was nice because I remember it being like, remember here in August, so it was a warmer day, so it was nice to be in the shade for like a lot of this. And this is basically what we were going to experience for quite some time now.
We do this walk for about 0.6 miles, and then finally we hit another juncture. In Acadia National Park, all of the trails are interconnected. And
all of the trails.
And sometimes there are connecting trails that aren't necessarily like named or part of like a bigger trail system.
Or just aren't on the map that we have, even though it's a good map.
Right. However, we knew that we were going to need to take a connecting trail to get us to what was the Canada Cliffs Loop Trail.
Mm-hmm.
This connecting trail was only about 0.2 miles, but it was going to cut right through the forest to the right to bring us to the Canada Cliffs Loop Trail.
Mm-hmm.
We hit that juncture on Valley Trail, and then we're like, okay, great. If we could keep going straight on Valley Trail, but instead we decided to turn to the right.
Right.
And
I do remember seeing, like, I think it was here where this is like where the juncture was. There was a sign that was like with the signpost that was like newly opened. It was like,
and I'm like, I wonder how newly opened it is.
Yeah.
Right. There was definitely a new part to Canada Cliffs. Mm-hmm. Or Canada Cliffs itself was just like a new thing that they added.
Yeah.
So we get on the connecting trail, and that connecting trail is only about 0.2 miles, but it is just immediate descent.
Yes.
So the elevation at where we were at this juncture, at the Valley Trail and this connecting trail, was about 400 feet. Mm-hmm. This comes back a little bit later, but do remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So we decide to take that 0.2 mile connecting trail headed toward Canada Cliffs Loop.
The forest has changed now, so for most of the Valley Trail, it's sort of rocky, and then we get to that last section right before we hit this connecting trail, and it was like big boulders, sort of gravelly path, like very, very like canopied. And here you can see a little bit more light through the trees, like it's not as low of a canopy. And it's like a heavy, like sort of mulchy ground that you're walking on. Like it's all very brown at this point, but still like the trees are very green. Just it's more open at the top.
And that continues all the way through that connecting trail. Mm-hmm. So eventually we finally get to the Canada Cliffs Loop. Now the Canada Cliffs Loop is like a U shape, and we were coming in at the very bottom of that U shape. Mm-hmm. The U is connected at the top by a different trail, but it's not technically called a Canada Cliffs Loop. That is a different trail name. We are at 300 feet of elevation. We've already essentially from the parking lot climbed up 400 feet, and now we've lost 100 feet, and now we're back to 300. Mm-hmm. If we were to take this loop to the left, it would sort of like take us through the top of the Canada Cliffs.
Right.
If we take it to the right, essentially what that's going to do is sweep us down to climb along the side of the Canada Cliffs.
A lot more descent happening.
A lot more descent, and that is what we decided to do.
And two roads diverged in this beautiful wood, and we chose the one that went lower.
We did. We chose the one that went lower. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say this. Our map is great because our map contains elevations on it. However, when looking at that map, it still sort of rings like a flat situation.
Sure. Yeah.
So like you can just like, we'll look at it and go like, oh, and then we're going to go this, and this. And then we kind of have no idea what is really in store when it comes to ascent and descent.
Right. Because we can't zoom in on the map to see it a little more clearer either. You know, that's part of the issue. The map is only so good. It is good. I won't besmirch the map. It served us well.
You've already done that.
This is a place for legends. This was a lot of descent. I do remember the trees feeling very big here. Again,
the trees
big
were
little
very
worlds.
big. And here's the deal. Like, so we take this trail and we start heading down, and it's just like down, 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 and like it doesn't stop.
No.
And I remember thinking like, oh God.
Yeah.
I know this only means one thing.
Up,
At some point, right?
up.
So we go all like we're like looping around
The cliffs, basically.
and like the cliffs are way up on our left, and we're like down here in the woods below. At this point, like, oh yeah, there was that woman that was sitting there. She was sitting there.
We were around a lot of people at this point. It was like a family with like maybe like a mom and her adult children.
Yes.
I just remember hiking with like a bunch of people.
But they were sitting, and they were like, there was a woman sitting there, and I thought she was meditating. That's what I remember at this moment in the trail. But I do remember the trail got much narrower. Like this wasn't like wide.
No, and
it was like one person at a time.
It was also like, oof, if it was raining, this would be a pain in the ass to climb. Just the way that the trail makeup was and how much of a descent you were having. There was a lot of loose rock, like I remember. And I just thought this would not be fun. Like as an ascent in wet weather. Yeah.
I thought that too. I didn't say it out loud though, because I know what
I internalized it.
But I do know like that when it comes to Acadia National Park, saying something like, "Oh, I'm so glad we're not going up this way," it's just like manifesting like an even harder situation later.
And then it rained.
Right. So we continue down the Canada cliffs. Eventually, it starts to level out. And as it does, it connects to a road and a parking lot. And this parking lot is at the bottom of Echo Lake.
So, as we kind of like are coming to this parking lot, we knew that in the long run, we were going to have to somehow make up all of that downhill we had just come down.
And girl, did we.
And with that, let's take our first break.
Yeah, I really did like that section of the park.
The Canada Dry Cliffs.
The Canada, right. Because that's what this is now.
And Schweppes
Canada
Lake.
Dry. Schweppes Lake, right. Our ginger ale ads. What game are we playing today?
We are playing Only One Can Stay.
Great.
In this game, I'm going to name a group of things, and you will have to pick, because only one of them can stay.
Great.
Forever, and everything else will be lost for all eternity.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Just like that.
I have one for you. All of the episodes of Parks and Recreation, that's your group. Only one episode can stay.
Oh, wow. I think it's The Fight, because that is my, I had that locked and loaded. That is an episode that's where they're all drunk at the end and they're giving interviews and Ben goes, Baba Booey.
Okay, great. Locked and loaded.
Yep. I'm so hungover. Really? I ran a 5K. Really? No, I threw up in the trash can. Or I threw up in the shower. Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite. What about you, if you had to pick?
Oh, a Parks and Rec episode?
Oh, yeah.
The gay penguin episode, I think.
Oh, okay.
Is the one
That's the first episode of season 2.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know or anything.
Yeah. I don't know or anything. I don't keep track. I didn't write their Wikipedia page or anything like that. So.
Okay, ready? Here's your group of things. Home Goods, Home Sense, World Market, Marshalls.
Okay, you know my answer. My answer is World Market, and the rest can go. They can just go.
Sashay away.
World Market goes nowhere. Unfortunately, the World Market near me did. It disappeared.
Yeah.
Which is really, really unfortunate. What about for you, those same stores?
Well, I don't really like Home Sense that much.
Oh, sorry, Home Sense.
I think it's nonsense.
Wow. Those are harsh words for Home Sense.
I don't know. Oh, wait. No, I'm sorry. Did I give you At Home? Because that's what I meant. That store is bullshit.
Okay. This game has just turned into Mike just
swearing.
Swearing and
At Home.
Speaking ill of potential sponsors. No.
I mean, World Market's great. I just feel like...
Don't you dare besmirch. I hear it in your voice and I know it's coming.
I want it to be bigger.
Your opinion is your own.
I want it to be bigger. I want there to be more at World Market.
I think I think the size is fine. I'm perfectly content with the size of World Market. I'm, not a size queen. So that's just me.
I just feel like I like their brand a lot and I feel like they have a lot more to offer to the world market. So I just feel like they could, I feel like it could just be a little larger. Like I want to see more kitchen-like things, like more plates. They don't have a lot of flatware. I wanted to look at flatware and like, dinnerware.
Well, if you want more, you can go to At Home.
No, not that'd be not at home.
Here we are in this summer parking lot in Acadia National Park.
Oh, Lord child.
It was packed.
Yes.
It was no place to park.
It was a little bit of like, oh man, I'm having a little PTSD from our walk along Ocean Walk up to Sand Beach.
A little bit, yeah.
There was literally nowhere to park. And we're walking through, so these cars are like circling the lot, and they're like, are you going out?
Are you parking? And we're hiking. We're just hiking through.
Oh.
I know.
Yeah, this is the spot on the western part of Acadia.
This is the spot, yes.
And I think because, again, there are so few sandy sort of beaches, this is another one where there's a sand beach, so it's not like you have to be on rockiness.
Right there on Echo Lake.
Instead of going to the beach, because it was pure insanity, we go and get on the Beach Cliff Trail, which is basically like you have to go to the end of the parking lot, which is essentially at this point, this is how you would get to the beach. It's this trail that sort of starts parallel to the parking lot. You would go to the right to go to the beach. We went to the left. Almost a half a mile trail that would basically connect the other U end of the Canada Cliffs Trail.
That's right. However, we did not realize what the Beach Cliff Trail had waiting for us.
No, we did not.
So we start on the Beach Cliff Trail, and for, a very short period of time, it is literally like a walk along the banks of the water of Echo Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Then we start to encounter some switchbacks. And at first, the switchbacks are kind of easy. Like, they're not too bad. And they lead to this lookout point where you can, like, see Echo Lake. You can see the beach. You can see everybody in their inner tubes with their sports boats and, like, having
with
fun.
Their sports boats.
With their sports
and
boats.
Their party grills.
And having fun. And, on their party boats, eating their hors d'oeuvres. Doing their things
on their sports boats,
so you can see all of them from there.
This is at the corner of one of the switchbacks,
exactly.
And this is also, we weren't really hiking with anybody at this point, but all of a sudden when we got to the switchbacks, people just sort of came out of nowhere. Yeah.
Okay. So now is the point where we have to talk about ladders.
Mm-hmm.
Because as we continue up these switchbacks, it started becoming real consistent that at the end of a switchback, there would be a short ladder that you had to climb.
Yeah, and sometimes not so short.
But like not like short, like 3 or 4 rungs. We mean like 8 to 10 rungs on a ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is middle of pandemic 2020, climb a ladder and then just tons of hand sanitizer, and then climb another ladder and a ton of hand sanitizer. And like this became a thing for a long time until we got to what felt like the top of these switchbacks when we saw what was the longest of all of the ladders.
Mm-hmm.
And also now a line of people waiting to climb this ladder.
Well, it was a line prior to this. So,
I mean, there were some people around.
Ahead of us, there was like a family. I would say probably like a family with their 2 or 3 kids. And then like maybe aunts and uncles were along for this trip too. Like there were a lot of adults in this family. Their kids were having some difficulty climbing the ladders, just more out of fear than anything else,
right?
Which totally get, like, especially if you're like, these weren't like perched over like an open precipice by any means, but they are pretty high, and at certain points, like when you get off the ladder to get up to the next like plateau, there may not be anything for you to grab. You might have to just like put your hands on the ground and like pull yourself up, sort of kind of thing.
So the first ladder was, I would say, like at least 30 feet tall, at least.
Yeah.
And like now these ladders are like, they're smushed into the middle of like a crevice between 2 giant boulders.
Mm-hmm.
We wait our turn, we give some space, and then we finally get to start going up this ladder. From here, I remember from this first one, it sort of looked like, okay, this is the only one that we have to deal with. And as I was climbing and then got closer to the top, I could see, oh, no. There's another 30-foot ladder right after this.
Yes.
Getting to the top of the ladder, it was like, now we wait because the family is now climbing. And they had a daughter who was very terrified. And my heart really went out to her.
Right.
Because she was like, I was like, she did not sign up for this trail today. I was like, neither did I. I didn't know that there were going to be like 60 feet into the air of ladders today.
Yeah.
And she was upset, but she made it. And I hope she feels very proud of herself for doing that. After a slow ascent, we do finally get to the top of this second very tall ladder. How did it feel for you, like dealing with that situation and going through like the ladders and the height of the ladders and like all of that?
Well, the height, as we've learned, rarely bothers me. Mora Rock was the thing that like sent my fear meter like, you know, through the stratosphere. But like this, because we were like along like a cliff edge, but we weren't like dangling over like open nothingness below us, I didn't feel too bad about it. The waiting was what it was. This is just what life is. And, you know, especially during the pandemic, we had to, again, make sure we were spaced. And we really made sure that people were up the ladder at least 6 feet before we started. There was a lot of like times where you would come up a ladder and there would be really a short bit of outcropping that you could stand on. So it wasn't even like you could form a line on the next like sort of plateau. You had to kind of wait maybe on the ladder before you could even go up. It wasn't my favorite thing. We made it work. I'm sure it wasn't your favorite thing either.
It wasn't my favorite thing. It's less exerting to climb a ladder to gain elevation versus doing like switchbacks, certainly. But it was also tiring, really tiring. We do finally make it to the top of that second ladder. At the top of the second ladder is an overlook. That is, now you see even more of Echo Lake. You can see really far into the distance.
You can see all the sports boats down there.
You can see all the sports boats
and
down there.
Tubes that they're entering.
Now we're from a different part of the world. There were a lot of pictures up here and a lot of hand sanitizer up here.
Yes. And it was really beautiful to just be able to see into the distance. One of the people that were hiking with us was saying, I just remember this. He was like, oh yeah, when I was a kid, you couldn't even do this. This didn't even exist in the park. Like you'd have to go all the way around basically and back down to get to where you needed to be.
Right.
And
you
that
would
was
have
kind of
to take the entire U of the Canada Cliffs loop.
Yes. So that was kind of cool to hear that. Like, it was like, oh, it's neat to see how the park has just developed over time. And like, obviously this is someone that's hiked this trail before, like a long time ago. So I do remember hearing that. But it was nice to just like be up here and to like take in the view. This was like also like hazy, hot sort of day. So we were like in the direct sun. And I just remember feeling like very overheated at this point in the day.
Yeah. It was really, really hot.
I was jealous of all the people in their sports boats and inner tubes.
I know, jumping in that water down there, having fun.
I know. We had our own sort of fun.
We had our own fun.
Right. It's called chutes and ladders.
Ain't it though?
Yep.
So we're standing up here and I remember feeling like, okay, I know what we have to do next in order to like continue on toward Beech Mountain. But what is interesting here is that now we were back at 300 feet elevation. In that moment where we were at the, you know, the apex of the Canada Cliffs Loop, literally we just gained back, if not more, all of the elevation that we lost descending the Canada Cliffs Loop.
Right. But we did it through ladders.
And we did it through ladders.
And some switchbacks.
Yeah. And so we're up here now. Right around here with this tiny, and I mean tiny, like 0.4 mile loop called the Beech Cliff Loop. And we both were like, no, we're not doing that. Good. No, we're good. We don't need to do that today.
We're also approaching the wall. The wall is very nearby. So, and for those of you that have never listened to our podcast before, we're not talking about a physical wall. We are talking about the mental tired, because we had, because now, remember earlier today, we had done all of Bernard Mountain, which was like 9.6 miles, I think, in total, something like that. Yeah.
There was a ton happening here. We decide we're not doing this Beech Cliff Loop. We're moving on and we have to take a connecting trail that's about 0.2 miles to bring us back to the Valley Trail, just like we took a connecting trail to get off the Valley Trail to the Beach Cliff Loop.
Right.
So we take this connecting trail, and I remember on this connecting trail, I was like, I have to go to the bathroom and make full use of it.
Mm-hmm.
I might just have to go in these woods here.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were booking it to see if maybe, because we had seen on the map that there was a parking lot.
Up here.
We are hoofing it and booking it, and we make it to the parking lot, and lo and behold, there is a porta-john. I was able to make full use. Thank goodness.
And I just played with dogs because there
You
were lots of
did.
dogs
There were
out
dogs there.
Mm-hmm.
They were beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
What did they look like?
There was like a shepherd. So
Yeah.
like, talk about like my heart thumping through my chest.
Yes.
Any sort of shepherd, German or otherwise.
Right.
Right.
After playing with dogs, we
Mhm.
knew that it was finally time to ascend Beech Mountain, and that was what was coming up next.
And with that, let's take our next break.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage
Marcia Mello. Marcia Mello. Hello.
Marcia Mello. I'm sure she exists.
I'm sure.
But
how could she
Lord,
not?
I do love this one.
Mhm.
Marcia Mello.
Well, this was like, I think, directly fed in from our like s'mores in the evening tradition.
Totally.
Yeah.
So who is Marcia Mello?
She's a winter queen. Maybe she has another personality for another time of the year, or maybe she just always does her act in like a big white poofy coat. She like
interesting.
That's how it starts, at least. And from there, like, there are reveals.
Oh, I like that.
Mhm.
So it's like she always starts from the same place, but
Mhm.
where she goes is different every time.
Different every time.
Oh, I like
But
that.
I do feel like she does incorporate Christmas music into all of her acts, or holiday music, I should say. And then that transitions into something. So it like becomes like a mashup into another song.
Oh, yeah.
Like
of course.
that's part of her shtick too.
Right.
And I think it's because of the song Marshmallow Worlds from, I forget
that
what
what you're
group sings
thinking?
it.
Right. So that could be her like
yeah.
holiday act, but
Yeah.
she doesn't do exclusively a holiday
Oh,
act.
no.
She could do any act that she
But
wanted.
yeah.
Yes. Great.
She can do whatever. She doesn't
She
have to
can.
pigeonhole
I feel like
herself.
she's a dancer.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's like her own variety show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those quick change artists that like were all over like America's Got Talent and those like talent shows.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she's one of those. Like, she is someone who starts one way and then like just transforms.
Right.
And
And at one point she twirls and her dress like changes from one thing to another, like
of
in
course.
Cinderella.
And then like someone like drops confetti on her, and when it hits the ground, it's something new.
Right, exactly.
I think she is definitely a stunt queen in that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. She rides in on a little moped. she pops a wheelie
Right.
as she comes onto stage. What song does she sing?
Well, I think there's a lot of ways that she could go. I don't think she's like known for like one song. I think, she'll have like a theme for an evening where she'll do like all.
An Evening with Marcia.
Yeah. Marshmallow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like she has, I think probably a s'mores cocktail is like her signature drink.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah.
I feel like that. And also she sells mittens, or her merch.
Oh, I love that.
Marshmallow mittens.
I love that. Maybe there's like an M on the mittens or something
It's
for Marcia.
monogrammed for Marcia Mello.
Exactly. Oh, I like that.
With all her M's. Yeah.
Oh,
I
I'm
think
here
so.
for that.
Mhm.
And maybe there's an M on each one for Marcia and Mello.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that.
Or Eminem.
Yes, that
Can't
too.
do that.
Or maybe maybe it's M&M's. Maybe she has a deal with M&M's where she,
Also,
that's the snack
M&M's,
of
when are
choice.
you putting marshmallows in them? I think that's your next step.
That's interesting.
They put everything else. They got pretzels, they got peanut butter, they got
Marshmallows are
caramel.
I feel like marshmallows are so hard to work with.
I don't know about that.
I mean, because think about it, marshmallows and like Lucky Charms are like freeze dried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that's also part of her act. Instead of confetti, Lucky Charms marshmallows fall
Oh
from
God,
the sky.
that is just a health hazard way to tap in. Just that's what a bar wants to do at the end of the night is clean
Sweep
up.
that up.
Yeah, just waste food.
Maybe
turn food
her
into confetti.
signature cocktail is called the Lucky Charm.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. I like, yeah.
And maybe she sings Lucky by Britney Spears.
This is a
now
lot.
I'm on a tangent here.
Well, now you're on a lucky tangent.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we have a lot to work with.
We do.
And that she's a very...
she's a versatile queen.
She is.
She's a stunt queen.
She's the stunt queen with reveals.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage,
Marcia Mello.
We walk away from this parking lot and we soon come to a fork in the trail.
Mm-hmm.
Now, essentially, this is what you call the Beech Mountain Loop Trail.
Right.
And there are two trails that connect to the Beech Mountain Loop Trail, and that is the South Ridge Trail and the Westridge Trail. If we were to go to the right, we would have to go a longer way to the peak. Essentially, you're walking around it, and then you would turn left and go directly up.
Yeah.
Or we could go to the left and sort of gradually go directly up to the peak of Beech Mountain, and that is what we chose to do.
Right. So I think we were sort of well, let's go down the Westridge Trail because that was going to give us some views potentially of the lake from above. We do start taking the side of the loop, and it is a little uphill, but it's a very gradual sort of uphill. And it only takes about 10 minutes before we are full on just cussing. We are
Lord.
full on. The wall is here.
The wall has been hit.
We hit dogs, and we didn't hit dogs. We saw dogs. Some of us pooped. I'm not going to say who. And then the wall came.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was this was the point in the day where I was like, if there was a damn Ruby Tuesdays around, I'd need it right now.
Mm-hmm.
But there was not.
No.
I do know that this is the last bit of uphill that we're going to do.
Yep.
I know that I can make it, but that was a tough uphill.
Yes. And this is also where a lot of people from the parking lot are going this route. They're heading up Beech Mountain, assumedly then doing what we did, but just sort of doing it in reverse. They're taking it from the top and then going down and around. Or maybe they just came for the 0.4 mile up to the top of Beech Mountain.
Right. And
Who
then
knows?
they come back down. Right.
But we are kind of dodging people with dogs, which ain't no problem with that.
It is only 0.4 miles from that fork to the peak of Beech Mountain. Mm-hmm. But that felt like such a long 0.4 miles.
I think because we were just done.
Oh, yeah. We were exhausted and super tired, and that is why we were so spent.
Mm-hmm. So we do get to the top of Beech Mountain, and there is a fire tower here, which, wet my whistles. Old machinery,
right?
Fire towers and dead trees.
You
take me on a date to see all three. I'm yours
You
forever.
just come alive, and I collapse, and I sit somewhere far away from other people, and I sit and I eat my snacks in my own shame. No, I'm kidding. There was no shame about what I was doing. I was so tired. You were like, "There's so many views over here," and I'm like, "I'll get there at some point." But I need to sit here and just collapse and cry for a minute, and then I'll be okay.
Mm-hmm. Just keep it inside. Learn how to hide your feelings.
We don't have the rights to that song.
So, yeah, I'm all over the place up here because it's great. And the views are really, really spectacular. We do, eventually I do join you, and we do sit sort of in the shade, and we get to, just chat and snack. There are a family that's sitting, not far from us in the shade, and they had a dog, and we talked to them for a little bit.
Yes, that was a cute dog.
Yeah. And then I climbed the stairs of the fire tower, but you couldn't, go up to the lookout. Which was a little bit of a shame, but this was cool. It was really cool up there, and
it had beautiful views up there. Absolutely beautiful.
Yes,
just across everything.
Yes, I can imagine from the top of the fire tower you'd be able to see more of a 360 because you do get cut off by the trees, kind of coming up from where we had ascended. Right. We have our moment here, which is probably I think we probably sat for a good 15-20 minutes before we did anything.
We did. We did, and I knew that okay, it's going to be just downhill from here, and it's not too bad, and we're headed right back to the car. But we were going to take the Westridge Trail back down because we could have taken the South Ridge Trail, but we decided, we were like, yeah, we'll take the Westridge Trail and see what views we can get of the lake from that side.
Of Long Pond.
Right. Was a little bigger than Echo Lake.
Yes.
but it's still called a pond.
Pond.
So we have to take like a bit of the Beech Cliff Loop Trail to connect to the Westridge Trail, and we have to take that down. And it's only about 0.1 miles to connect to the Westridge Trail. But this very short, like 0.1 miles was like, it was like right here, I remember there was a campground, or like there was a restroom. There was something off to the side here.
I have no memory of that.
There was something.
I'm sure that there was. I just like,
and
my
so,
brain is not
as we started heading down, I mean, like we were moving pretty fast here because it was like, the incline was a little steep here. I'm really glad we didn't do that going up.
Oh yeah.
I was so thankful for that.
Yeah.
And so we did finally make our way to the Westridge Trail, and it was time for us to turn left, and that's going to take us back down to the parking lot. Okay, now let's talk about the Westridge Trail.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, but I have written its name on
in the burn book,
and I have burned it in various ceremonies because I just feel like it did not want us to succeed this day.
No.
Or any day,
this
for that matter.
This was a trail, just a spoiler alert for all of you out there. Don't climb this trail. Go down it only. And maybe don't even go down it.
Yeah. Don't do it. Just take the Southridge Trail.
Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful towards the bottom. I will give it that.
Okay. Our main issue with this trail was that like, I don't know, 80, 75, 80 degrees was like the pitch sometimes. Yeah. It was ridiculous. Yeah. What the pitch was sometimes, just on bald rock.
Yeah.
And I was like, we would get to moments of it and I'm like,
what are we doing here?
We literally have to just slide down. Like there were parts we had to literally slide down.
It was sit and scoot and sit and slide.
Sit and slide. And I was, now if you thought we were cussing before,
we were
actually spitting curses at this moment in time. Moment in time. I was.
This is how much it's affected you.
I mean,
you can't even
it
talk
was.
Right now.
It was very hot. We were so exhausted. And then it was like we'd go
treachery.
Go through this one section of treachery, and then there would just be another one, and then another one, and another one, and it was worse somehow than the one before. So many times where I was like, "How in the world would someone go up this?"
I don't understand it. We actually did see as we got closer towards the bottom of it, when we're like, "Oh God, sweet relief!" We can actually see the forest come back, the canopy. There was like a dad and his son and their dog. Again, more dogs, loving it. And they were headed up. And we were like, Godspeed, y'all. Good luck.
Godspeed.
It's not great. I can't remember if they had said that they had done it before. But I was just like, all right, good luck to you. It's not one I recommend going up.
No, ever. Or down, frankly, for that matter. No. The only time there was relief was like right there toward the bottom when it finally kind of like leveled out with that lake.
Right. And it becomes like sort of like a lovely little walk through the forest again.
Right.
Along. And like you're able to see the shoreline. This is also where there are a ton of like private homes that like are on either side of the path. Some that are on the left side of the path, but then also have like a connecting like gateway that goes to the right side because they have like a lake house down there.
Right.
Remember, you're not supposed to swim in Long Pond. I'm doing air quotes right now. I don't, but people do. We encountered one woman on the walk. She's like, "Oh, do you guys like know where the secret beach is over here to go swimming?" She had her towel with her.
And we're like, no. What secret beach?
She's like, "Oh, there's a really good swimming spot over here." We did see some people like that clearly had gone off the trail and were like right on the lake front or the pond front, I guess is what we'll call it. But we were like, no, we don't. We're sorry. She's like, okay, that's all right. Because I think a lot of people could potentially like go through some of those gates and like just be like, well, I'm on the shore now. Trespassing is never advised.
No, never advised. And yeah, there were definitely like people laying on rocks. And I was like, oh, that looks great right now. But you know what also feels great? It's just like laying down in a tent. I was
sitting
really
in a car.
Sitting in a car would, I'm sure.
We do get back to the car after the walk along the lake, which was a nice way to cool down. It was shady, but it was also, we weren't on treachery anymore. It was pretty flat. And we do come back to the car. We do come right along the lakefront, essentially, and then we walk back up the stairs that were the start of the Valley Trail to get back to the car.
And so we did make a complete circle in this moment.
There were a lot more people parked, more people on the shore right there.
Right.
At this moment in time. Originally, our plan was to hike Acadia Mountain, which is further east. And that would have been a long loop.
No.
And we said no.
No. We went back to the campsite and ordered another pizza. Let's put these trails on the Karen Stone scale. The Valley Trail.
Valley Trail, there was, you did have to do a little bit of work. There were the stairs too. So you did have to there was ascent that happened. But a lot of it was fairly manageable. I'm going to say like a 4, I think.
Great. I'm going to say a 4 as well.
Great.
So 8 out of 20 Karen Stones. But next we have the Canada Cliffs Trail, which is the U-shaped trail. Now we only did the
bottom part.
The bottom part, or what we would call the eastern side of the Canada Cliffs Loop, going down. And what would you say for that?
It's always hard when it's descent and the ascent would be a pain. For us, I just... I'm going to give it a middle of the road. I'm going to say a 5 because I feel like ascending it, I want to be practical there for anybody that thinks they might want to ascend that. I feel like it's kind of like a middle of the road hiking trail. 5
feels very safe to me. I mean, and by safe, I mean like a safe bet.
I think you could give it a 7, Michael. I don't know why you always play it safe.
Yes. Okay,
yeah,
great.
Okay, so 10 out of 20.
So now let's talk about the Beech Cliff Trail, which included all of the ladders. Barring the people and the waiting, and that, I would say a 6 because it's not the longest and the switchbacks aren't as tiring as other things, but it does make you, you have to heave yourself up some pretty steep ladders.
I enjoy that break sort of in wow, this is something so different. We don't often climb ladders in a national park. I just think, the most taxing thing was just the waiting there, but whatever. I'm going to say a 5.
Okay, great. Did I say 6?
You did. So
okay,
an 11.
Great. So an 11. Great. And now let's talk about the Beech Mountain Loop. We only did one, we did kind of 2 portions of it.
Right.
We went up one and down the other. I think this was only difficult for us mainly because of our tired state. I would probably give this a 4.
Yeah, it was short. It's a quick one. I'm going to say a 4 too. That seems good.
Great. And now finally the Westridge Trail.
This is a 9, I think.
Yeah, I think this is a 9. I just am I don't know how...
It's it reminds me of
I would never want to do it going up ever.
It reminds me of I just remember rock climbing and being when it's oh, you're really good at a V10 or V9 or whatever the rating was. And then it's then you try a V10 and you're well, how the hell am I supposed to do this? This is only one number up. And that's what it sort of felt like. It was well, we just did all this and it was fine, but what the hell is this bullshit?
Exactly. It did feel like that.
Yeah. So...
Yeah. So an 18 out of 20 on the Karen Stone scale.
Great. Now let's end this episode, as we always do, with some Jeopardy-style trivia. So, hilariously, this Jeopardy that I wrote, I was I have this idea and I want to do it, but it's not going to really relate to this episode. And lo and behold, it does. This episode's Jeopardy is titled Letter Ladder.
Letter Ladder. Great.
Letter Ladder. So you're going to guess 3 words. Okay. I'm going to give you a clue. I'm going to start with the shortest of the word. Each of these words builds upon one another. There's just another letter that's added and then another letter.
I'm ready.
Do you sort of get it?
I get
you'll
it.
get it.
I get it.
think it's going to be
So it would
fun.
be like end, bend, blend.
Right, exactly.
Great.
For 100, starting with this word, which may mean also or to, and adding an L would give you somewhere to plant your feet. And adding a B to the second word, you will probably be pretty unexcited about it.
What is and, land, bland?
Correct. Letter ladders.
Great.
For 200, starting with this word, someone you might see around first, second, and home, and adding an R would give you an euphemism for your posterior or a type of roast. And if you added a G to the second word, you might be sort of cranky about it all.
Oh, I'm stuck on getting the first word. Someone you might see. Is it ump? It's ump, rump, grump.
That's right. There
Great.
you go.
I got it.
There you go. All right, great. For 300, any of these numbered New York City streets could help start you off. Of course, only if you shorten them. Add an R and head to an all-nighter with lights and music blaring. Just in time to add a G because you'll definitely be exhausted afterward and you might just be ready for slumber that's longer than just one evening.
What is Av, rave, and grave?
That's right.
Great.
Great. For 400, this Pete and Pete's strongest man in the world, if his name was a little more proper, starts us off. And if you add a W, you'd end up pretty unhappy, especially if you'd been kissing toads. At least adding an S would pull you through with some beautiful dark features.
Is the last word swarthy?
It's actually the shortened version of it.
Which is
Just swarth.
Swarth.
Swart.
Swart.
Mhm.
So it's art, wart, swart.
Mm-hmm.
Swart.
Swart.
Great.
Which I love that's a word.
I do
Swart.
too. Swart.
You're so swart. You're smart and
It's
swart.
Oh, that would be fun. Let
I
her
realized-
flip around.
right.
Like you could do like a B and a P.
Mm-hmm.
Like a,
Yeah, I got you.
yeah.
I also realized that I could have just left it as Artie because it could have been Artie, Warty, and Swarty.
But we would have to have that H.
Yeah,
you
we
could,
would.
It could have been like another.
Yeah. Okay,
Cool.
for 500,
I like that.
start with this indigenous tribe of the Southwest. And if you added a letter L, it would give you an instrument that passing madrigals might use. And with the addition of a G, a muscle we all need to get around.
What is the ute, lute, glute?
That's right. Congratulations.
Thank
You've
you.
done very well at letter ladder.
Great. Okay, are you ready for my category?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my category was inspired by Beech Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll get the connection later.
Great.
But the title of this is called Tear Jerkers
Mm-hmm.
because I did shed some tears on this hiking this day. And so these are all movies that make us cry, but you have to identify the movie from the quote.
Great.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
And there aren't 5, I have 7.
Great.
Okay, are you ready for 100?
I'm ready. Don't cry out loud.
I don't know why you have to make everything so difficult. I look at having a baby as the opportunity of a lifetime. Sure, there may be risk involved, but that's true for anybody. But you get through it and life goes on. And when all is said and done, there will be a little piece of immortality with Jackson's good looks and my sense of style, I hope. Please, please, I need your support. I would rather have 30 minutes of wonderful than a lifetime of nothing special.
Who is Shelby Drink Your Juice from Steel Magnolias?
Yeah, that's right. From Steel Magnolias.
That's a movie
Okay.
that always makes me cry.
Always.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I could walk to Texas and back, but my daughter can't. She never could. Okay, are you ready for 200?
Maylin.
Malin. You know every story, every wound, every memory. Their whole life's happiness is wrapped up in you. Every single second. Don't you get it? Look down the road at her wedding. I'm in a room alone with her, fixing her veil, fluffing her dress, telling her no woman has ever looked so beautiful. And my fear is she'll be thinking, I wish my mom was here. And I'm going to give you the next line that might help you, which is, and then the character she's talking to responds, and my fear is that she won't.
What is stepmom?
That is correct.
Okay.
You got it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Jenna Malone.
Yeah.
Is this all Julia Roberts films?
No, I think those are the only two, but she's
Great.
been in quite a few
She has.
tearjerkers. Okay, you ready for 300?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to talk about our love story because I can't. So instead, I'm going to talk about math. I'm not a mathematician, but I do know this. There are infinite numbers between 0 and 1. There's 0.1, there's 0.2, 0.112, and an infinite collection of others. Of course, there's a bigger set of infinite numbers between 0 and 2, or between 0 and a million. Some infinities are simply bigger than other infinities. I cannot tell you how thankful I am for our little infinity. You gave me a forever within the numbered days, and for that, I am eternally grateful. I can give you a clue if you need a clue.
No. Charlize Theron and yes, is this no? Oh, what's that? That's movie Sweet November, I think. That's what I was thinking of.
Oh, great. That's not here. No.
Ooh.
Says Hazel Grace to Augustus in this 2013 tearjerker.
The Fault in Our Stars.
That's right.
The Fart in Our Stores.
Do you not like that book?
I don't. I was like really disappointed by that book in the end.
Also, you're dark-sided. So.
I am dark-sided. I take that with a badge of honor.
I loved that story. I loved that book. I had students who were reading that book, and so I went and bought it. And I was reading something else, and I read like the first page of it, and I was like, well, okay, I can't stop now. And then I just bawled my way through the whole thing. Okay, are you ready for number 4?
I'm dark-sided.
Yep, for 400.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember how she used to stick out her tongue when she was coloring? I could listen to her stories all day. I just want Riley to be happy.
What is I Am Sam?
Incorrect. Says Joy in this 2015 animated tearjerker.
Oh. What is Inside Out?
That's
Another
right.
film that I was not the most
I
biggest
loved
fan
Inside
of.
Out. I know. Well, dork-sided.
Although I do live for like the fact that the dad from Inside Out has become a gay icon.
I mean, I guess he has. But...
Yeah.
Okay, for 500.
That does make me giggle.
Are you ready?
I'm here for the laughter, not for the tears.
Have I spoken out of turn? Then I'll say one more thing. It'll clear the air. I may have to come close, but I never had what you two have. Something always held me back or stood in my way. How you live your life is your business. Just remember, our hearts and our bodies are given to us only once. And before you know it, your heart is worn out. And as for your body, there comes a point when no one looks at it, much less wants to come near it. Right now, there's sorrow, pain. Don't kill it, and with it, the joy you felt.
I know that quote. I just don't know what it's from.
You and I both sat sobbing at this moment in the movie.
God.
So just saying. This movie.
With a cannibal.
Well, now apparently.
Now cannibal. I guess they won't be making that second one. What is Call Me By Your Name?
That is correct.
That's when Dad gave him that speech.
Mm-hmm, that's Dad's speech.
I was just like,
I know.
Devastated.
Okay, finally.
And we cried at Timothy Chalamet crying into the fire.
Oh, I know. There was tears all over the place. Mm-hmm. Tearjerker. Okay, ready. Mm-hmm. For 600, this is dialogue, and it's just going to go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think it's like? What? Heaven? I think everybody gets their own white horse, and all they do is ride them and eat marshmallows all day. And everybody's best friends with everybody else. When you play sports, there's no teams, so nobody gets picked last. But what if you're afraid to ride horses? Doesn't matter, because they're not regular horses. They've got wings, and it's no big deal if you fall, because you just land in a cloud.
Gosh, I don't know. The Care Bears movie. Says
Veda to her friend Thomas J. in this 1991 tearjerker.
Oh, yeah, that one. Dark-sided. What is My Girl?
That is correct. Mm-hmm. And finally, for 700, I was jealous. I was so jealous of you I couldn't see straight. You did everything you said you were going to do, everything. And your talent, this incredible talent, I can't even yodel.
What is burlesque?
Incorrect. says Hillary to Cece in this Barbara Hershey Bette Midler tearjerker from
What is
1988.
beaches?
And now you get the whole point of the whole
Fine, then it's
category. Fine, then it's garbage. That's a Barbara Hershey quote from Black Swan.
Burlesque.
This has been Gaze at the National Parks, the podcast. We're here to remind you to hike early and hike often, and that adventure is always out there.
Gaze at the National Parks was created and is hosted by Dustin Ballard and Michael Ryan.
To see images from this episode, follow our Instagram at Gaze at the National Parks. To contact us, email us at gazeatthenationalparks@gmail.com. And to find out more about Acadia National Park and the other parks visited on this show, visit our website, gazeatthenationalparks.com. That's Gaze, G-A-Z-E.
All original artwork featured on Instagram and on our website is by Michael Ryan.
All original music is written by Dave Seaman and performed by Dave Seaman, Mariella Klinger, and Sean Sklios. Our music producer is Skyler Fortgang.
This episode was edited by Dustin Ballard. We would also like to acknowledge that while hiking in Acadia National Park, that we were on the traditional lands of the Wabanaki Confederacy, the Abenaki, and Penobscot peoples. We would also like to acknowledge that while recording this episode, that we were on the traditional and stolen lands of the Lenape people, also known as Ocean County, New Jersey.